Why do the weak perish while the ruthless rise to power? You've witnessed it countless times. The kind-hearted colleague passed over for promotion, while the cunning manipulator ascends the corporate ladder. The generous friend exploited by those who mistake goodness for weakness. Tonight, I reveal Machiavelli's most dangerous truth. The world does not reward virtue. It devours it. But what if I told you there exists a third path, one that grants you invisible power without sacrificing your soul? Stay with me as we unlock the prince's most guarded secrets. You see, society praises goodness because it benefits society, not the individual. The more good you are, the easier you are to control. From a young age, you're told to be kind, to forgive, to turn the other cheek. Yet no one tells you that the world does not reward goodness, it uses it. People do not exploit the cruel. They exploit the kind. When you are good without limits, you're not noble. You're predictable. And predictability is death in a world driven by advantage. Machiavelli observed that rulers who depended solely on goodness were crushed by those willing to be strategic, even ruthless when necessary. The problem isn't kindness itself, it's unguarded kindness. The kind that bends, apologizes, and overextends until it breaks. Look around your own life. The people who use your time, who take your silence as weakness, who constantly need you. They've learned something important, that your goodness has no edge. They know you'll say yes again, even when you shouldn't. They know you'll forgive again, even when you shouldn't. And they know you fear being perceived as cold or selfish, because that would break your image of being good. Machiavelli would call that a fatal flaw, because the world does not respect purity. It respects power, and power demands boundaries. A prince, a leader, or even an ordinary man who cannot say no becomes a servant to those who can. The art of invisible power begins when you stop trying to please and start making people aware of what happens when they cross your line. You don't need to raise your voice or make a threat. Your absence will do it for you. Your silence, your withdrawal, your refusal to engage, those become acts of power. The mistake of the eternally good man is that he believes morality protects him. But Machiavelli saw the truth: morality without strength is an illusion. It gives comfort, but not control. And control is what shapes destiny. People test you not because they hate you, but because it's human nature. The wolf tests the fence not out of malice, but instinct. And when the fence gives way easily, the wolf returns again and again. So too does the world test your limits. When your boundaries are weak, you invite more pressure. When they are firm, you create a quiet fear, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken, only felt. And that's the essence of Machiavellian wisdom. You must let your goodness have a spine made of silence, distance, and consequence. Be kind, but let people sense there's a cost to misusing that kindness. The truly powerful are not those who are cruel. They are those whose kindness feels controlled, a choice, not a compulsion. Machiavelli's great insight was that fear in moderation keeps order. It sets the rules that goodness alone cannot enforce. Without boundaries, your generosity becomes weakness. With them, it becomes respect. Because even the kindest soul must learn this ancient law of power. The world respects only what it cannot easily take. Machiavelli understood something most people never dare to admit. Fear creates order, but goodness creates expectation. The moment you build your identity on being the good one, people stop respecting your effort and start demanding it. Your generosity turns into a job. Your kindness becomes a duty. And instead of being appreciated, you become expected. The truth is uncomfortable. When people see you as endlessly kind, they stop seeing you as powerful. They grow used to your giving, your patience, your forgiveness, as if it were infinite. They stop thanking you, because they assume you will always give more. That's what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that people are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and greedy. He wasn't condemning human nature. He was describing it. He saw that fear, not goodness, is what maintains respect, boundaries, and order among people who are naturally self-interested. Think about this: when a person fears losing your approval, they behave. When they fear your absence, they value your presence. But when they feel no consequence, they grow careless. Goodness without power turns into an invitation to test limits, while fear, even subtle psychological fear, keeps people alert, aware, and cautious. Machiavelli's great insight was that fear, properly managed, doesn't destroy relationships. It defines them. It establishes hierarchy, discipline, and awareness of consequence. Fear is not about cruelty or punishment. It is about presence. It's about the quiet energy that says, "I am not someone to be played with." You don't need to shout it. The most powerful people never do. They simply radiate it. Now here's the tragedy of the good person. They believe that if they are kind enough, others will treat them fairly. But Machiavelli knew the opposite happens. The more good you appear, the safer it feels to take advantage of you. Goodness without a backbone invites exploitation, while measured fear earns respect. The man who always says yes is liked, but never respected. The man who can say no calmly, without apology, creates fear, and that fear turns into value. Imagine two rulers. One rules through constant kindness, granting every request, forgiving every betrayal. His people love him, yes, but only until they sense weakness. The moment chaos arises, they turn against him, for they no longer believe he can protect them. The second ruler is fair, but firm. He rewards loyalty but enforces consequence. He is not cruel, but he is unpredictable. His people may not love him, but they obey him because they fear what disobedience might cost. The first ruler gains affection, but loses his throne. The second may be feared, but he keeps his crown. That is the law of nature. Machiavelli revealed love inspires hope, but fear ensures survival. The world is full of those who will take what they can, and only fear, not kindness, reminds them where to stop. So ask yourself, what do people feel when they think of you? Comfort or caution? If it's only comfort, they will take you for granted. If it's caution, they will measure their words. Machiavelli would tell you that both are forms of emotion, but only one sustains authority. Fear keeps people aligned. It builds structure where chaos would otherwise thrive. Because when you are feared, even slightly, your word carries weight. Your silence commands attention. Your presence restores order. And that is not cruelty, that is control. Machiavelli believed the most dangerous kind of power is the kind that never needs to announce itself. The kind that lives in silence, unspoken, but deeply felt. This is what he called invisible authority. The quiet fear that surrounds someone whose presence alone changes the behavior of others. You've seen it before. A person enters the room, says nothing, yet everyone adjusts their tone, straightens their posture, watches their words. That is not love. That is not charm. That is fear, the psychological kind that Machiavelli valued above all. You see, fear doesn't always come from threats. The most powerful fear comes from uncertainty. When people cannot predict how far you'll go, when they sense that you could destroy them, but choose not to, they respect you on a level deeper than admiration. They fear disappointing you. They fear losing your approval. And that kind of fear is far more effective than any outburst or intimidation. Machiavelli knew that predictable people are powerless. When everyone knows how you'll react, when they know you'll forgive, explain, or justify, you lose all psychological advantage. But when your reactions are controlled and unreadable, people become cautious. They study your silence. They overthink your stillness. They begin to fear what they cannot understand. That fear becomes your armor. In politics, in business, in relationships, invisible authority is everything. The one who controls emotion controls the situation. And this is where most people fail. They confuse control with passivity. They think silence means weakness. But Machiavelli would say silence is the ultimate weapon. Because when you speak less, others reveal more. When you stay composed, others lose balance. And when you don't react, others start reacting to you. Think of a lion. It doesn't roar all day to remind others it's powerful. It simply exists, and that existence alone creates order in the jungle. The lion's restraint is its authority. It kills when necessary, not constantly. It doesn't need to prove what it already is. The same applies to human power. Those who shout about their dominance have none. Those who remain calm, deliberate, and unpredictable command fear, not by what they do, but by what they might do. Machiavelli wrote that men must either be feared or destroyed, because fear keeps them obedient. But the fear he meant was not always born from punishment. It was psychological. The fear of uncertainty, the fear of consequence, the fear of losing favor with someone they cannot read. Invisible authority is the ability to control people's imagination, to let them fill in the blanks with their own fears while you remain composed. And here's the fascinating part. People respect what they fear, and they trust what they respect. So when your power is invisible, your influence becomes effortless. You don't demand loyalty. People offer it because they feel safer near your stability than outside it. They know you are capable of harm, but disciplined enough to withhold it. That is what Machiavelli admired, not cruelty, but control. The ability to hold power without ever displaying it. So if you wish to command true respect, don't seek to be loved. Don't seek to be loud. Seek to be unreadable, calm, and precise. Because when others cannot measure your limits, they will never dare to test them. Machiavelli never condemned kindness. He simply warned that when it becomes a habit, it loses all its value. The world confuses kindness with goodness. But to Machiavelli, they were not the same. Goodness is a state of character. Kindness is a tactic. And like any tactic, it must be used with timing, intention, and restraint. The problem with most people is that they hand out kindness like water from a broken fountain, freely, constantly, without pause, until no one even notices it anymore. That's when kindness becomes noise, not power. Machiavelli observed that when you give too freely, people stop seeing your actions as generosity. They begin to see them as obligations. The things that once impressed them now become expected. And once something is expected, it no longer earns respect. That is the danger of habitual kindness. It conditions others to take, but never to appreciate. The constant giver becomes invisible, while the rare giver becomes divine. That's the paradox of human nature that Machiavelli understood so well. Think of this. When the sun shines every day, we stop noticing its warmth. But when winter comes, we crave it. That's how kindness should function, not as an everyday display of virtue, but as a deliberate act of mercy that others feel privileged to receive. Machiavelli knew that if a ruler shows mercy too often, his subjects grow bold and undisciplined. But if he withholds it until the right moment, his kindness becomes a tool of loyalty and control. The same rule applies to life. When your kindness has limits, it carries meaning. When it's endless, it becomes a weakness to exploit. People must feel that your compassion is a choice, not a default. They must know it comes from strength, not from fear of rejection. The one who gives out of insecurity hopes to be liked. The one who gives out of confidence commands respect, and that distinction is everything. Machiavelli's princes were not heartless. They were strategic. They knew that a single act of well-timed mercy could buy years of loyalty, while constant leniency would breed rebellion. When you show kindness rarely, people remember it. It becomes an event. They tell others about it. They feel honored. But when you show it endlessly, it becomes invisible. And invisible kindness has no authority. You can see this truth in every aspect of human behavior. The teacher who is too forgiving loses the class. The leader who tries to please everyone loses control. The friend who always says yes stops being respected. It's not about cruelty, it's about contrast. Machiavelli believed that power lies in contrast, the ability to show both mercy and restraint, both generosity and denial. Without contrast, your kindness is cheap. With contrast, it becomes powerful. So when you give with awareness. Let your kindness feel earned, not expected. People must sense that beneath your warmth lies strength, a silent reminder that you are capable of saying no. That's what makes your yes valuable. Because kindness, when it comes from weakness, is manipulation in reverse. It seeks love. But kindness, when it comes from strength, is mastery. It creates loyalty. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about abandoning compassion. It was about weaponizing it. He knew that a kind man who is feared is loved more deeply than a kind man who is taken for granted. Your kindness must have weight. It must remind people that it can disappear at any time. That uncertainty keeps them respectful. That distance keeps you powerful. That balance between mercy and discipline is what transforms kindness from a habit into a form of control. Machiavelli knew that the secret to lasting power is not brute strength. It's perception. The way people see you matters more than who you actually are. Because in the eyes of others, perception is reality. You can be kind, intelligent, or moral, but if you appear weak, people will treat you as weak. You can be ruthless, strategic, and composed, but if you appear unshakable, people will assume you're dangerous. And that assumption alone is enough to protect you. This is the art of what Machiavelli called respectful fear. Most people make the mistake of thinking they need to constantly prove their worth, to show their intentions, to explain their goodness. But the more you explain, the less mystery you have. And mystery is power. Machiavelli observed that great leaders understood how to control what others saw. They mastered the illusion of virtue, even when their motives were pure strategy. They didn't show all their cards. They showed just enough to make others think what they wanted them to think. This is how power truly works. Not through dominance, but through controlled perception. The goal is not to appear terrifying, but to appear unreadable. When people cannot easily define you, they tread carefully. When your mood, your choices, your principles seem firm but unpredictable, people start calculating before they act. That hesitation, that pause of uncertainty, is where fear is born and where respect grows. Machiavelli would say, it's not enough to be powerful, you must be seen as powerful. Because people don't obey truth, they obey image. A ruler who seems decisive, even if uncertain inside, gains more loyalty than one who constantly seeks approval. The appearance of control creates real control. The appearance of confidence builds real confidence in others. The image of fear creates real restraint. That's how perception turns into power. Think about how you carry yourself. The way you walk, speak, pause, or respond teaches people how to treat you. When you speak less, every word gains weight. When you act with purpose, every gesture becomes authority. Machiavelli believed that by managing perception, you can make others fear disappointing you without ever raising your voice. That is respectful fear, a mix of admiration and caution that keeps loyalty intact without hatred. The man who seeks to be only good will be liked, but eventually ignored. The man who projects quiet authority, who blends fairness with an air of unpredictability, is treated with reverence. Because people don't fear cruelty, they fear uncertainty. They fear not knowing where your boundary lies. They fear how far your silence goes. That's what makes perception such a powerful weapon. Even in modern life, this truth never fades. You can work hard, be honest, and do everything right, yet still be overlooked. Not because you lack ability, but because your presence doesn't command perception. Machiavelli would advise, build a reputation that speaks before you do. Be calm, but not passive. Be kind, but not transparent. Let people see discipline, not desperation. Because when your image carries quiet dominance, people respect you without ever being told to. They second guess before crossing you. They interpret your calmness as calculation, your silence a strategy. That is respectful fear, the kind that makes others admire you, obey you, and never quite feel comfortable trying to control you. Machiavelli understood one timeless truth. The world does not remember those who were merely good. It remembers those who were powerful. And power, in its purest form, is not about cruelty or control. It's about the silent fear that keeps your name alive long after you're gone. Fear builds legacy because it forces people to remember you. It leaves an impression too deep to be erased. Goodness, on the other hand, builds dependency. It creates comfort, not awe. And comfort is easily replaced the moment someone else comes along who can offer the same thing. Think of history's greatest rulers, leaders, and thinkers. How many of them were loved for being endlessly kind? Very few, but almost all were respected or feared for their strength, their conviction, their refusal to bend. Machiavelli studied these figures and noticed something. Those who ruled through affection often lost control when the tides of love shifted. But those who ruled through fear, through a reputation of authority, through a presence that demanded caution, remained untouchable. The reason is simple. Love fades when it's tested, but fear endures. People love you when you give them what they want. They fear you when they know you can take it away. Love is conditional, but fear is instinctive. It doesn't need maintenance. It lives in the mind long after affection dies. That's why Machiavelli wrote, "Men love at their convenience, but fear at their necessity." He knew that when times grow uncertain, people don't run to the kind. They run to the strong. When you build your power on kindness alone, you create dependency. People become attached to what you can provide, not who you are. They depend on your approval, your resources, your energy, but not your authority. And dependency is a trap. It ties others to you, but it weakens you in the process. You end up serving those who should serve you, pleasing those who should respect you. That's the curse of the endlessly good. They gain affection but lose influence. But fear, respectful fear, has the opposite effect. It builds independence and hierarchy. It makes people aware of limits, of lines they must not cross. It separates you from the crowd and establishes you as someone of consequence. And that, to Machiavelli, was the essence of legacy, to create a presence that lives in the minds of others as a force they cannot forget or easily replace. You see, fear leaves a shadow. A man who is feared is remembered even by his enemies, while a man who is only loved is often forgotten by his friends. Because love pleases the heart, but fear commands the mind, and the mind holds memory far longer than emotion ever will. Machiavelli understood that legacy is not built on how much people liked you. It's built on how much they respected you. So he advised rulers to aim for balance, to be feared enough to be remembered, and fair enough not to be hated. That's how true legacy is born. It's not carved in statues or written in books. It's etched into the way people hesitate when they speak your name. It's in the silence that follows your absence, the caution that remains after you're gone. Fear builds that silence. Fear builds that caution. It ensures that even when you're no longer present, your influence still controls the room. Because the world forgets kindness when it becomes ordinary, but it never forgets power when it becomes legend. Conclusion: Machiavelli's final lesson. Machiavelli's wisdom was never about cruelty. It was about clarity. He looked at the world not as it should be, but as it is. And in that world, power belongs not to the kindest, but to the most self-controlled. The man who tries to win through goodness alone will always serve those who mastered fear. Because fear, when balanced with intelligence and restraint, becomes the invisible armor that protects you from manipulation, disrespect, and betrayal. Goodness without power is innocence, and innocence in a ruthless world is dangerous. To be good is easy, to be respected, while being good is rare. The world may praise kindness publicly, but behind closed doors it kneels to strength. Machiavelli understood that humans admire virtue, but obey authority. They love what comforts them, but they follow what commands them. To live by Machiavelli's rule is to stop chasing validation and start building gravity, a presence that pulls respect without begging for it. That presence doesn't come from loudness or cruelty. It comes from your ability to stay calm, firm, and unpredictable. The moment people sense that you can walk away without fear, they start fearing to lose you. That is invisible power, the kind that bends the world quietly, without force. So do not aim to be loved by everyone. That is the dream of the powerless. Aim to be respected, even by those who dislike you. Let your kindness be selective. Let your silence be strategic. Let your power be felt, not seen. Because in the end, the world does not remember those who were simply good. It remembers those whose strength was undeniable.